That's my good friend Steve Oropeza from Strategic Fishing, and Steve is going to show you how to fish the Los Angeles California Breakwall here in Southern California. So close to home and loaded with quality sand and calico bass. Today, Steve will be fishing the crankbait and showing you exactly how to do it.
Steve here from Strategic Fishing, and today I'm going to be fishing crankbaits inside the harbor. The last few days have been really consistent as far as good weather. We got surface temperature at about 61 degrees for the last 3 days. The barometric pressure has been great, 29.9 to about 30.1, which is also great. I'll be fishing the Seeker Swim Glide 85. This is an 8.5 foot rod paired with a 400 Lexa T-Wing. And the reason that I'm fishing this, it's a 20 to 50 pound rod, so it's kind of heavy, but the reason I'm going to be fishing this is because I am using those bigger crankbaits. These larger deep diving crankbaits do put a lot of pressure if you're using a lighter rod. That's why I'm going with something a little bit heavier. And if you're using a lighter rod, you may not feel that bite right off the bat. I've got it rigged with a quick clip so I can easily swap these out as I need to. And it's rigged with 20 pound Ahi GT4 fluorocarbon. So the main reason that I'm going to be fishing the crankbaits is because it's ideal conditions. I'm going to be going out at high tide and we're going to be fishing the outgoing tide. So we're probably going to start off fishing around the San Pedro breakwall side on the inside. During high tide, you're typically fishing around 18 to maybe 15 feet of water depending on where you're fishing. I'll be fishing these smaller crankbaits. These dive down to about 15 feet. So you don't want to use anything that's a lot deeper because you may get hung up on rocks or structure down there. So I usually bounce between 15 for certain areas or something a little bit bigger that dives down to about 17, 18. As I move over to the federal wall, I'm going to be transitioning to something a little bit bigger. On the inside of the federal wall, right on the other side of the lighthouse, Angel's Gate, that breakwall at high tide can be as deep as 30 to 40 feet. So something bigger like this, something that dives down to 20, or these larger crankbaits dive down to 24 is ideal. One thing to note is depending on the crankbait that you're using, so if I'm using a 24-foot diving crankbait, I want to stage my boat using my trolling motor in about 35 to maybe 40 feet of water, and then cast right into the breakwall and try to land within 5 feet of that breakwall, because then what happens is once this hits the water, it's at 0 diving depth, but as you start winding it in, it's going to dive down to 24 feet. And when it's doing that, it's basically riding along that incline of the breakwall. And so any of those bass that are hiding in those holes, they're going to see that come right by, and hopefully they're going to come out and attack this thing. So you want to make sure that you're giving yourself enough room to use this to its maximum potential and ride down that wall, diving down to 24 feet. That's why you want to sit in about 35 to 40 feet of water so you really get all the way down to that 25 feet and ride that depth down. And the same would apply if you were using something shallow, or if I'm fishing the San Pedro side and I know that it's about 15 feet deep there, I'll be doing the same thing with my 15-foot diving crankbait. I'll be staging maybe somewhere between 20 and 25 feet. That way I let this thing dive all the way down to its maximum capacity and then bring it up to the boat. The main thing is that you're not stopping this from reaching its maximum dive depth because you're staged too close to that wall to get the full potential out of it. All right, guys, stay tuned for some bass on the crankbait.
As we watch Steve catch some nice calico and sand bass, you've got to feel blessed to realize that we have such a great fishery so close to home. Some anglers only have a few hours in a day to spend fishing, and if that's the case, the breakwall is for you. Action is the name of the game. 100 fish days are not uncommon when fishing the breakwall. And of course, if you're prone to seasickness, that's not going to be an issue when you're fishing the harbor and the breakwalls. It's normally really beautiful weather. Great fishing close to home can be accomplished in a few hours, and it is absolutely loads of fun, and I mean family fun. It's perfect for the kids and parents to get out together. All right, Steve Oropeza will continue to get great tips from him and learn more about how to fish the Southern California breakwalls.
All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video and learned something. Make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you on the water.